to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
So fun stuff with me. I hope you're doing okay. Chilling time, yeah.
Going to Jersey on Thursday.
Yeah. Fun. Always.
I'm going to Devil's Hurricanes.
Nice. Maybe you'll see Neil.
Well, I'm gonna actually text him and let him know.
You're gonna check on him right now?
Yeah,
We're in the middle of starting.
There,
okay.
Screw it. Meet up.
All right. Yeah. Cool. So yes. Okay. Hi everybody. Here's the quick rundown of the show today.
Yes.
So we're gonna do Kepi Keepers by DraftKings.
As we always do.
As we always do. 90% of this will be a discussion like last year against Chicago that Jay is going to lead about Hockey Canada and the 2018 World Juniors, 2003, every development.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead right now at the top, issue a content warning. We're going to be discussing sexual assault, sexual violence.
Yeah. And we'll put another one. We'll repeat it again when we get to it, just so everyone's aware when it happens. If you want to listen to the other segments,
and I'll link I'll link that old episode too.
Yeah.
At the end of this one, so you can listen to that story again, and then we're gonna end on some fun levity stuff. But first, Ohio, the countdown is on, baby.
Oh, baby, we're getting
DraftKings Sportsbook, January 1st. Get ready. Wow. Okay. My brain. So yeah, go ahead, sign up. And when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook with the code THPN, you put your $5 money line on any NHL team to win, and you can get $150 in free bets if they do. Can you bet on World Juniors? Because it's World Juniors time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can.
Cool.
World Juniors is absolutely something you can bet on, and World Juniors it's a very prominent thing for this episode, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Both fortunately and unfortunately. Yes. Did you see Finland upsetting Canada yesterday?
Yeah, and the United States was struggling a little bit there with Latvia, but pulled away.
I said the Czechs, right?
You said you said Finland.
I said Finland. Dang it!
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, well, because I was thinking about David Jiricek and his poor equipment issue.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got his stuff. Jeez, took him, but yeah, you can bet on the World Juniors. You can bet, for those of you eligible, on the 29th. Come hang out with me on the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel. You can bet on Columbus and the Islanders. And yeah, just remember, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Put $5 per game money line on NHL team to win. Use the promo code THPN. I don't even have the script up. I'm actually going to do this again. I'm sorry, everybody. We're a little rusty. It's been a hot minute.
Yep.
So give me 2 seconds. No, wrong thing. Here we go.
I'd say you're rusty. I'm flawless so far.
I'm just as rusty as these jackets are. So yeah, don't forget.
Rusty is being kind.
Rusty is being kind, I guess. So yes, don't forget you can combine bets with your same game parlays as well. The most fun way to do it. Bet on this, this, and this, and if they all happen, you get a big payout. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code THPN to bet $5 on any NHL team to win the game. Get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with the code THPN. Let's get this going.
Okay.
So I am going to give mine to Kirill the Thrill 86.
Mm-hmm. He's been
fantastic. Marchie looks like he belongs.
Yeah.
And that's good to see from a young kid like that. Him and KJ have really shown that they know what they're doing at the NHL level.
two of the few bright spots on this team so far this season. So
I mean, there's only a handful, but I mean, he scores against Philly, he scores against Chicago. He's racking up his points. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and to do it at this early on, and as consistently as he's done it early on is impressive. So it's a good thing to see. I'm satisfied with this play so far.
And again, we've been hyping this kid up for how many years now?
For quite some time. There's been a lot of excitement about it. I mean, you look at he's played in 10 games so far for the Jackets. He's got 4 goals. I know plus minus isn't the best stat, but he is +2, which is impressive considering the fact that they're on a 6-game losing streak right now. So
impressive for
pluses
this
have not been easy to come by.
Yeah.
He's shooting 28.6% because he's got those 4 goals and 14 shots.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting you a little over a shot a game, and considering how little he plays because Brad Larson doesn't know how to deploy players properly, is pretty good to see. He's looked pretty good on the power play. I've been satisfied with that. But for his performance in Chicago, now with 9 points in 20 games on the season, I'm going to give it to another very, very one of the few bright spots on this team. I'm going to give it to Marcus Bjork again.
Bjorky, I know the last time you gave it to Bjorky, we gave him a lot of praise just for coming in as a free agent signing and coming out of nowhere.
Been a struggle for him these last few games defensively, but he got a goal and an assist in Chicago, and he scored 2 goals. So the 2 goals that you got in that game, he factored in on both of them, and I would say that that's grounds for saying that he is one of the few players who actually showed up for that game.
Can we go ahead and give an honorable mention to Roslovic as well? Because he's starting to pick things up again.
Sure.
So let's give Rosie a bit of flowers. But yes, Kirill Marchenko, Marcus Bjork, couple of young dudes. Really, really impressive dudes.
Did you mean to do that?
What? Give him his flowers?
Flowers.
Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Hey, at least it comes naturally to me.
It was natural.
Just like roses. All right, we're done. We're okay. Yeah, Kepi's are done.
Understand, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at them. 6 straight losses. Jesus Christ.
I know it's getting bad, and I mean, like Elvis says, COVID now.
Yeah, I get it. Like 6 straight losses, but you played some really tough competition, like Philadelphia and Chicago.
But against Chicago, God,
it's not even just losing to Philadelphia and Chicago back to back. It's losing 5-3 and then 5-2 to Philadelphia.
It's making Chicago. It's making this Chicago Blackhawks team look like 2013's Blackhawks team. That's the problem.
It's having Max Domi make an asshole comment about the city of Columbus and then allowing him to
yeah, I mean, thanks, Max. Cool. Right?
Yeah, no, the one guy that you and I were very consistently behind. They're always behind the guy.
Yeah.
And so many of the fans were too.
We loved him here.
Like it is what it is. Like I understand that COVID was going on and it was tough for people to see family and whatnot, so perhaps people didn't want to go.
Yeah,
but I don't know. The least you could have done was maybe provide some context or just not say it in a way that you knew was going to be,
yeah, like
read into like that. Like it's not hard.
It's like, yeah,
you could have just said, I enjoyed my 2 years in Columbus, but there were times where it was tough because I couldn't see family.
It was a little lonely, and it was one of those things. Yeah,
literally all you had to say.
That's all you had to say.
You went out of your way to say nobody wanted to go to Ohio. So,
well, Johnny Gaudreau did.
Yeah.
So there's that.
There is that. Yeah.
All right, so let's get diving into this. The whole premise of this episode is Hockey Canada, the first original scandal that came out about the 2018 World Junior team,
That is presently the big one. That's
There are other layers to it.
There are other layers. There's a whole bunch of layers to this, and we know 2003 is potentially one that I'm sure more is going to come out about over time.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
Off the top, okay.
Content warning. First.
Content warning for this. I want to make a comparison, and I'm going to try not to take too long with this because I think this is important because it's a good comparable to understand exactly what we're talking about. Have you ever seen the movie Spotlight?
You mentioned this the last time we did an episode like this, and I still haven't watched the movie, unfortunately.
But you know the gist of it.
I know where you're going with this.
Yes, because for those of you who haven't seen Spotlight, Spotlight is about the Spotlight team for the Boston Globe. Back in, I want to say it was 2002, 2003, maybe even earlier.
Yeah, you said somewhere in the early 2000s.
Yeah, either late 90s, early 2000s. They came out with a whole flood of reports of sexual misconduct for priests in several of the different parishes in the Boston area. And the one thing that they uncovered was how anytime something like it would happen, like if something was reported, the priest would take a leave of absence and then be transferred to another parish. There was a system in place that allowed that behavior to continue and allowed to keep things uncovered for a very, very long sustained period of time. And the one scene that's great in the movie that, you know, it was already a great movie, but the one thing that, like, every movie that wins a ton of awards has that one scene.
That one scene that wins all the awards, right? Yeah.
And the scene is Mark Ruffalo and Michael Keaton arguing back
and
forth.
Two great actors, too.
Two great actors. And Mark Ruffalo is saying, we got him because, you know, he uncovered one of, like, the most significant cases in it. And Michael Keaton said, no, we're not reporting it yet. And he was like, we got him. Why aren't we reporting this? And Michael Keaton says, no, we need to get the system. He's like, story. We need to get the system.
We need to get to the top.
We need to get all of it. That's the only thing that's going to put an end to this.
And that's exactly what's happening here.
Yes.
More or less.
I use that as an example to contextualize this.
I do want to make one quick, really dumb reference.
Sure.
Because you mentioned it goes from parish to parish, right?
Yes.
This whole system has, if I can put this in the words of a Seether album, poison the parish.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt it's yeah.
There's comparables here because we're talking about Hockey Canada, okay?
Yes.
And that is the big governing body here, right?
Yes.
And I want to
don't get me wrong.
Off the top, we address that this case that we're going to cover is unbelievably important on its own.
Yes.
Incredibly important. And there's a reason we're going to go into all of this.
And we encourage you all to share this episode like we encouraged the Blackhawks episode. Please. This story needs covered. This story needs shared. This story needs talked about.
And at the same time, also acknowledging this is just one story.
Yes.
And that there's going to be others. And it's going to be, I don't know how many, but there's going to be more. And we're going to have to talk about those too. And, you know, this is, you know, one that kind of gets the ball rolling, which is a good thing. But I just want to make sure that we understand that the system is what's important here. But it doesn't, I don't want us to lose how significant each individual case is either.
Can we address this from viewpoints of detractors real quick? Yes. So there are pockets of people, and we all know these kinds of people, that will dismiss this as, why didn't they come out at the time? Why are they just coming out for the money now? Are they, you know, like,
and we can
clout chasing
we can nip that in the bud right now, because the first statement about this case happened 4 days after the incident. So that is the original statement to the police from EM, which are the initials that they're using for the victim in this case.
Yes.
So right off the top, we'll address that. This isn't a case of this is someone just coming out for a mic. No, she went to the police very, very shortly after this happened.
There we go.
So, yeah, and that's a good thing to point out there, Jake. I appreciate you doing that because
2003 is the main reason why I want to bring that detraction.
And also, we know how this. We've seen this in sports, right? Like,
yes,
or not even just sports. Other facets of life. If actors do this or whatever, why are they just coming out now? Like, neither of us have experienced this, but we know. Just, I don't think it's really too difficult to understand that even if you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes from this position, it is mortifying. It is life-changing, life-altering. It's traumatizing in just every way. Fight,
flight, or freeze. And the majority of these people freeze.
I don't blame them. It's a natural reaction because if you're threatened and something like this is happening, like it's hard. I think I remember back to what Rick West had said when he went on Steve Dangle's podcast, and this was months ago. And I listened to it again just to see if there's anything that would pop out to me.
The first time
for this,
because he went on like twice.
This probably would have been the second time.
The second time, okay.
But this one was months ago, okay. And what he said that just really stuck with me was that most cases of abuse like this are first reported for like the average age for reporting something like this is in the 50s.
So they take
so you think about just keep this in proper perspective. Even if this happens when you're 18, 19, 20. You're holding on to that for 25, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
If it happens when you're a child, that's 40 plus years that you're holding on to. These people are starting families, and you've got all these slew jobs that you've probably done, all these different life experiences, and during all of that,
that's sticking right there.
Think about how long 30 years is. Neither we haven't been alive for 30 years.
Exactly.
I'm only 23.
I'm only 25.
So think about how long that time period is. That's how long you're sitting with that. So anybody who comes out, no matter how old you are, it takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
But especially for a younger age, because this I just mentioned, like the average person who experiences that, it's often done in the 50s. So that was something that I also think should be addressed, because it ties into what we're saying. It is hard to report something like this because it sticks with you, and you see. I think social media kind of contributes to it, because you see people on social media anytime a report comes out, and their instant reaction is, well, let's wait for all the facts. They could be just trying to get money or whatever, and just immediately trying to dismiss it. It's like, why would anybody come out if this is a natural reaction that some people have?
Yeah.
That's a very difficult thing. You go through.
That's why I addressed that off the top.
Yeah, you go through an incredibly traumatic experience. You finally muster up the courage to tell your side of the story, and you've got a percentage of people who immediately off the bat are crucifying you for it.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that that's made clear off the top before we get into
the timeline. Yes.
So the first one's probably going to take the longest, because I've got 6 different pieces here too.
All right. Yes. This is going to take some unpacking, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing you got off work early.
Yes. I've been working on this for quite some time, but I had some finishing touches to do to this. So
we're still gonna drop this like Wednesday morning. We're gonna take some time. Like it's a good thing we're recording this early.
Yes, make your job easier. And...
yeah. Just in case this episode runs longer than it maybe should.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a time limit to talk about something like this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fine with going over on this one because it's that important.
Yes, let's go.
So the first piece of information, this is the first part of this timeline, is December 18th of 2022. This is all very recent. This is all within the last week and a half.
Yes.
Robin Doolittle, who has done a fantastic job reporting on all of this.
Shout outs to Robin, shout outs to Rick like usual, shout outs to Katie like usual, because the three of them really were the most integral in this.
Yes, and two other people who've done a really good job in this. Rachel Brady has gone in on helping with some of the reporting with Robin Doolittle, and another person who's done a fantastic job is Ashley Burke. So the first one from Robin Doolittle, she reported the big headliner of all of this that gets the ball rolling here, which is police investigators in London, Ontario, have said in a court filing that they have reasonable grounds to believe that 5 members of the 2018 Canadian World Junior team sexually assaulted the woman.
5 players, guys.
This is 5 players. And basically the gist of the initial report was that this woman had consensual sex. This was from the initial report with one of the players, and that the player, after all that was done, invited up those other players, and then over the course of hours they assaulted the woman. And by the end of it, there were several videos taken of them, pressuring her to make statements that it was consensual. They told her not to comply with police if there was any police investigation. There are other missing details that will be filled in the gaps as we progress along here, because I want to make sure we're presenting this in the timeline of the information and how it has come out. So you said 5 players. Yes.
I want to address this part really quick, because 2 players in particular that have been speculated about.
Yes.
Drake Batherson.
Yes.
Alex Formenton.
Both Ottawa Senators. One is currently playing with the team and is under contract. That's
Batherson missed his timeline to sign. Or was that Formenton? That was Formenton? Okay, so
Formenton is over in Switzerland right now.
Formenton, at the beginning of this season, was basically outed right off the bat in this investigation. So then the team had given him a timeline to sign.
Yeah.
And he held out through this. It was like mid-December, right? Or was it around Thanksgiving? It was something like that. It would have
been December 1st would have been the timeline to sign, because
December 1st. Okay.
If you don't sign a contract, then you miss the entire season.
Right.
If you remember back, just in the hockey sense, if you remember back, it was late of, I think, November 31st. There are 31 days into November, right? Or 30. I think 30.
30. So there's 30.
November 30th, I want to say. Somewhere around that time, like end of November, the Leafs finally signed William Nylander.
That was Willie. Okay, yes.
Avoid that deadline. And so this is the first case in quite some time where a player didn't sign by this deadline and will not play this year.
So let's just,
going to
these guys, but
did or didn't do it, but it is natural for people to want to speculate who could have done it, because that's the thing that's important to a lot of people right now. A lot of people are focused on who could have done this.
Yes, and forms, Foreman being the guy that missed his deadline to sign.
A little sketch.
Little suspicious, right?
A little suspicious, but personally, I'm not going to do that. And the reason that I don't want us to speculate right now who did it is because while these players engaged in this behavior, and whenever it comes out, they will be punished accordingly.
Of course.
The story here isn't, in my opinion, necessarily the players as much as it is what I referenced earlier, the system.
Right. And we would like names.
We would love names.
We would all love the names.
We need the names as soon as it is possible in a legal sense that makes sense for the timeline for core filings. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know
exactly
necessarily how all of that works. Someone smarter than me will be able to explain that at some point.
Yep.
But it is natural to want names, and we want names, and these names are important. As I mentioned, this case is important, but again, remembering big picture here as well. Both should get 50-50% of our attention.
I'm just trying to piece things out as you're trying to scope things.
So
that's all my job here is to try to break it down. So
let me dive deeper into this report from Robin Doolittle. Okay, so just starting it off. There's a 94-page document that was filed with the court and dated on October 17th. The London Police Service asked a judge to approve a series of investigative measures, which would have included, production orders, warrants, in connection with the probe of the attack. So the application kind of lays out the case against each and every single one of the players. So obviously these players' identities right now have not been released.
And this is different from Chicago in the case that this isn't a coach against a player.
Yeah, we found out the name of the coach very, very quickly. Whereas with it being multiple players involved in the same kind of deal.
And it's different from a league sense too.
Yes. Should be important to note. They have the names. We do not know them. They are not public. But they have the names.
This turned from a hockey case to a governmental case.
A government
very
case
quickly.
Yes. And we are addressing that as well. Because it's unbelievable what the hoops that Hockey Canada have jumped through in order to protect these players.
And all those hoops have been on fire.
Yeah. They're burned down. And it's a very, very, very good thing. So obviously, as I mentioned, some sections of this file have been redacted, including the names of the hockey players and some of the details of the sex acts for obvious reasons. And the identity of the woman as well.
Yep.
But this report provides the biggest picture that we've gotten to date of what allegedly transpired on June 19th in 2018.
A consensual encounter.
So
followed by, hey guys, come up. Basically, right?
This is very, very important. These next two things that I'm about to read to you. Everything's important here, but
I'll try to stay quiet. I'll try to not butt in too much.
You're good.
Yeah. I'm trying to make this. I know it's a very serious episode, but I'm trying to be a little bit of comic relief just to keep people.
I think we can save that.
Fair enough. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Roll with it.
As I mentioned, because we addressed this earlier, this incident allegedly happened June 19th of 2018. The 2-hour video statement of EM's complaint was given to the police on June 22nd. So that would have been 3 days after.
Yep.
So very, very, very quickly after this happened, she gave them the information of her account of what happened.
Right.
This is a quote from the author of the application. This is Sergeant David Unan. Okay. Quote unquote. I believe when taking a global view of the evidence, EM subjectively believed that she had no alternative but to engage in these specific sex acts. Further, I believe that each of the suspects knew or ought to have known that she had not given consent. That is significant.
It's
prior to this police warrant application, the only public account of what transpired that night came from a statement of claim that she filed back in April of this year. And this was around the time that Rick had talked about when he went on Steve Dangle's podcast. The Canadian Hockey League, the CHL, she named Hockey Canada, the Canadian Hockey League, and 8 unnamed players.
Right.
She was seeking $3.55 million in damages. That was settled very, very, very quickly. And that was one of the important notes about this case that first raised a ton of red flags, because legal, like civil litigation, oftentimes with big corporations, is especially a governing body like Hockey Canada or a league like the CHL. Those don't get solved in weeks.
No.
Those are months on tops of months, years maybe.
Yeah, when was the first time that we mentioned this?
Probably would have been back in May or June.
Something like that. And it's been about 6 months since we first started talking about this.
It was probably settled in less than a month, I would guess. 3 weeks, I believe, is the timeline from the time that she submitted that complaint and was compensated in civil court. And that would have been using the funds that Hockey Canada has received.
And can we let's go into the funds, because this organization.
So I'll jump real quick here to kind of get to it, since this is an important detail, and I'll delete the ones that I've talked about in this. So this is from their own press release. Okay, so this was on the December 22nd of 2022. Hockey Canada published its 2021-2022 annual report, and for the first time, they provided public details about the National Equity Fund, which has historically been used by them to pay uninsured liabilities, including settlements connected to sexual assault allegations. And that's something that they had included.
And I want to bring this up. This organization has 4 separate funds.
Yes.
To cover these kinds of cases.
Yes, and obviously the National Equity Fund is the most prominent. That was the fund that was used in this case, to my knowledge.
4 of them, Jay.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, that.
How often? What?
That's the first question that kind of comes up. How often is this happening?
To have 4 funds.
Yeah.
for your organization to just be like, okay, we'll pay you off, whatever.
The two significant things that happened this year that have never been done by Hockey Canada in their reports is obviously one, they addressed the funds for the first time ever.
Yep.
And the other thing that they did this year that they've never done before is they've acknowledged that there is a problem with the culture of the game. And those are both very significant public admissions. Basically a mea culpa, and
something that Gary Bettman has yet to do still.
Yes, yeah, it is significant to acknowledge that Gary Bettman still hasn't acknowledged that. But I think Hockey Canada understands the significance of this issue, and they understand that so many jobs and futures are on the line with this. This is a brand that is trying to kind of stay afloat here, because if this continues to go awry, there's no reason to believe that they're not going to, maybe not disband, but have to rebrand everything. And
well, we talked about in the past how much financial funding from sponsorships this organization has, been stripped of.
It's been a lot.
It's a lot of financial, and it's a lot of just general support.
Yeah, and
it's a lot of their companies.
That's what we talk about often is, hit them where it hurts the most.
Mm-hmm.
The wallet. You want to see change. That's how you do it. You stop giving money.
Yeah.
And
it's not just Hockey Canada. USA Hockey has some things hidden as well, I'm sure.
It's going to create an interesting discussion here. I'm not sure.
A lot of governing bodies probably have some of this around.
But I would like to have a discussion at some point, like maybe not the two of us, because we're so limited to information.
Yeah, we'll bring in an expert at some point.
There needs
eventually,
to be
right?
a discussion at some point, for this country about what's going on with USA Hockey. What do they know? What's been hidden from us? This isn't just a Canada issue, guys. This is a hockey issue. It would be naive and foolish to think that this is only a Canada issue.
Yeah.
So that's to address the fund, which was in reference to the first thing that we brought up. So 4 sections still have to talk about, Jake.
Yay.
As we slowly make our way through this. So
yep.
These are a few things that have happened between the 19th and the 20th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the law firm that was initially hired by Hockey Canada to probe the 2018 alleged sexual assault, this was Heenan Hutchinson in Toronto. They were ordered by a judge to turn over all of their findings on the incident. So this would have been your player, coach, staff interviews, any of your digital or forensic evidence, any text, social media messages, all that stuff. On the 20th, Hockey Canada instructed Heenan Hutchinson to comply with that request from the London police for evidence and interview transcripts. So within less than 24 hours, there's some collaboration between Hockey Canada and Heenan Hutchinson to turn everything over to the police that they had.
And let's eventually, I don't know if you want to do this next, but we got to get to the government meetings too.
Yes.
At some point.
At some point, yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to the government meetings at some point. I just wanted to make you aware of that. Go ahead.
So on the 19th, there were newly unsealed court records that showed several players on this 2018 World Juniors team were interviewed multiple times by London police.
Okay. Oh.
So other players could become suspects. Police have obtained video from the Delta Emery's hotel in London, which is where this incident took place.
Okay.
The records document that police are also searching for an Uber driver in London who drove her home from the alleged sexual assault, because this guy who took her home according to her statement, like really was comforting her and helping her out throughout
Okay.
their drive home. So this is in the statement. After EM left the hotel, she requested to take an Uber home. The
Mhm.
Uber driver observed that she was very upset and tried to comfort her on the way home. This man's identity is still unknown, and police are looking for this Uber driver. His identity is very important to the London police because they believe if they can interview him, this information will either corroborate or discredit her statement to the police.
Yes, and at this point, I'm trying to think of like where timelines are supposed to line up in terms of making sure the corroboration happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I keep coming back to the Kyle Beach thing because it's like the way the timelines work. It's a little bit of a parallel, right? You need corroboration. You need to make sure that things are
this case
confirmed.
needs a Brent Sobel.
Yes, we need a Brent Sopel and or a who was the other player?
God, I can't. I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but I think people understand the point here. So,
yeah.
last bit of information that was presented. EM told the police that 3 videos were made in the hotel, as I mentioned earlier. Defense lawyers have shown 2 of those videos to 2 reporters. EM said a 3rd video was recorded at the end of the incident on Snapchat, in which a player asked for assurance she wouldn't go to police.
Ugh. On Snapchat?
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is why. This is why the only thing that I do on my Snapchat anymore is send some random snap to keep like one streak alive with a friend.
Yeah.
I'm barely on Snapchat anymore.
Yeah,
Our streak ended a long time ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But and that's
And Snapchat, like, that's the scummy thing about the way that platform works too,
yeah,
right?
and we've
Is
heard so many stories about like things disappear very quickly. So
yeah, and you can only replay things once.
yeah,
And it's like the whole platform, like, it's an interesting way to build that kind of thing, but Snapchat is the platform for like weird sexual
yeah, because
cases.
it was designed as an app to communicate with people, sending pictures and stuff like that, which is the way a lot of people used it. But of course, people manipulated how the app works for different things, which could be taking photos or videos of things that you might not or shouldn't be taking photos or videos of, and yeah, I think people kind of
And
understand.
the whole thing comes back to like the feature where you can only play them like twice and they disappear, and you can
Yeah,
set time limits, and
yeah, yeah,
that's the problem with and I mean their logo is a ghost for a reason, right?
right. So on the 20th, this is from Rick Westhead. Hockey Canada told him that their investigation into the 2018 alleged sexual assault involving members of Canada's 2018 World Juniors team have been completed. Hockey Canada said an adjudication panel comprised of 2 former judges and a lawyer will now decide what sanctions, if any, will be imposed.
Okay.
I know we've said we're not going to speculate. I can't. All I'm going to say is I can't imagine that no sanctions are going to take place here.
There have to be.
So, Hockey Canada said all information concerning the investigators' report and the panel's decisions on possible sanctions will remain confidential for now. Hockey Canada says they do not want it to jeopardize the ongoing investigation of London police. And that is why it's going to remain confidential.
Until further notice, obviously.
Yeah, it's to be determined, kind of.
The whole thing with these kinds of cases is like the care that you have to put into it.
These don't get solved overnight or within a week or two.
No.
Take a long time.
And, things only come out when they believe that it is time to release certain information.
About this, since
6 months, dude.
April, May?
Yeah,
and
6-7 months.
It's not, guys, it's not super close to being complete. There's still a lot that goes into this.
Oh, yeah.
We're 8, 9, 10, 11 months until this is finished. And that tells you everything you need to know. That's another reason why, especially in a case with, these celebrities, oftentimes are hidden for times. And this isn't really one of those cases because she did go to the police immediately, but
right.
In the cases of say actors or other athletes, whatnot, you look at this process, Jake. It is hard to come forward if you look at this and see that it takes this damn long. It's not a quick, painless, easy process. It is very difficult, and it lasts a long time. And this has been long for us. Imagine how long it is for this woman.
Yes, already 4 years into it. She went to the police immediately.
Yeah.
And now it's finally...
it has to feel like it's just never going to end.
No. And that's the thing, too, with the fact that this is happening in 2022.
Yeah.
People's attention spans, look at TikTok.
Well, if you think about this, Jake,
we're turning into goldfish, people.
Yeah.
Our attention spans are awful.
Well, you think about this. Let's say that this thing is completed in June. Okay, just giving you an arbitrary date.
Yep.
If it's completed in June,
that's already over
5 years. That's 5 years after it happened.
That's 5 years after it happened, and it's 1 year of a full investigation since the initial report comes out.
Yeah.
That's over a year since the initial report finally surfaces.
Now, it could happen before June, but still, we're coming up on 5 full years since this has happened, and potentially almost a full year since this was initially brought back up.
Yeah.
So, really important to keep into perspective here.
And important to keep bringing up, important to keep media accountable.
So this is really, really important.
Because that's the thing, is the accountability part of this, right?
And we're going to get into some accountability here, okay?
Okay.
So this is from Ashley Burke. This was on the 22nd. For 2 years running, the federal government has raised concerns with Hockey Canada about accountability and transparency.
This part, yes.
After learning its board of directors failed to track and monitor all conflicts of interest cases. So Ottawa began grading national sports organizations on good governance issues about 3 years ago.
Bro, these meetings, these Senate hearings.
So in its June 2022 report, it gave Hockey Canada the lowest grade possible in the category measuring its management of conflict of interest.
The hearings themselves, if I can just talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Obviously we've taken our discussions of this very seriously. Reading how the original governing body that is now all fired.
Yes.
They're all out the door.
All of them are gone.
Yeah. Reading how the original governing body and then the original interim governor was, relaying their statements. Like, how hockey players talk?
Dude, they got nothing on some of these people in these governance jobs for Hockey Canada.
These people,
oh my God,
couldn't help but just laugh.
Yeah,
I was laughing.
Some of these answers are laughable with some of the things that they said in response to these things.
Because you get asked one thing and you completely outed yourself on several of these questions.
That's the thing that's also crazy about it is just reading it, and they sound like shameless answers because they tell the truth about some of the things, and it's just like there's like no emotion behind any of it.
I
Hey, how
know.
many of these funds did you know about? There's four of them. How many did you know about? Oh, I didn't know about the one, but I created three of them.
Because wasn't that the Steve guy or whatever
Yeah,
his name was, the original governor?
yeah,
I knew of one, but I helped make three that I didn't know existed.
what,
Bro,
bro?
pardon me?
Excuse me. Unbelievable.
And that was the biggest
Unfreaking
thing that, like,
believable.
it was just a complete befuddlement, like just dying, braying, laughing.
Yeah. Because it is one of those cases where you almost have to laugh, even though it's no laughing matter.
No,
There's nothing funny about it. You almost laugh because it's so unbelievable.
it's ludicrous, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's important to bring up. Uh, so the score that they give is scale 1 to 5. They got a 1.
Of course they did.
Which the government called quote unquote insufficient.
Yeah, like if it was up to the government, like themselves, to hand this down, they would have been getting a negative.
And this is what I think is really important here. Okay. The
Mhm.
government's June progress report shows that Hockey Canada had failed to prove it had made any changes since last year to improve its approach to conflicts of interest. As of June, the report said the hockey organization had a policy in place that required the board of directors to report any real, perceived, or possible conflict of interest, but it did not have a policy in place for staff and volunteers.
Uh-huh.
The latest report also said Hockey Canada's board of directors failed to report conflicts of interest in its board meeting minutes, didn't introduce a system to appropriately monitor and manage all conflict cases, and made no commitment to consult with experts about best practices. Thank you very much for that report, Ashley Burke. That is very, very important information.
Big kudos to Ashley Burke on, again, like just Ashley, Rick, Katie,
Robin,
yes, thank you.
Rachel Brady.
Rachel Brady.
Yeah, all of them.
All of you. Just fantastic work, and keep it up, and we're gonna keep talking about this as we go like through it. Like once there's another big jump like this, we should have another episode of this.
100%, and we will continue to talk about this. That is a promise that you and I will always keep to our audience.
Oh, yeah.
This is always something that we will talk about.
Yes.
When we believe it is appropriate, when we believe that we have a lot of content to talk about and to contextualize for people, you bet your ass we will talk about this.
And let's hammer this point home right now. The fact that, yes, the reason why we continue to talk about this, it is a hockey culture issue.
Yes. And it is.
It's the sport as a whole.
Be the change you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see change. This is how we can create change. Not just you and me. Anybody listening to this.
Anybody listening, anybody on any other show, any other bigger media platform. Like podcasting is becoming a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people still rely on, your Hockey Night in Canada programs, your ESPN programs for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We need more from them.
We need a ton of help. So there's one last thing I want to talk about. So we've gotten through. I think we've done a pretty good job getting through all this. But this is the newest kind of addition to the story that was made known 4 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
That throws another wrench into the story. Okay. So this is from Robin Doolittle and Rachel Brady.
Okay.
A man who was seen buying rounds of drinks for members of the 2018 World Junior Hockey Team before an alleged group sexual assault at a hotel in London, Ontario, was taking place is a senior employee at Nike Canada. So
Ooh.
this
And
was
did
interesting.
did Nike Canada pull sponsorship from Hockey Canada like at any point
They did.
during this? They
They
did.
So it's an interesting point to bring up because we learned a few days prior to that there was a man there who was believed to be in his 30s
Mm-hmm.
who encouraged this woman to quote unquote take care of one of the players. And this would have been leading
Okay.
to the consensual sex.
Okay.
So we didn't know who it was. We didn't know the association. We had learned a couple of days prior to that person had no involvement with the team or Hockey Canada in general. So a big question was, who is this person and what association do they have? And now we've learned that this person was employee of Nike Canada.
Okay.
The presence of this individual at the bar that night was revealed in a recent court application made by London police. In the application, London police say that they have reasonable grounds to believe that 5 members of the team sexually assaulted the woman.
Leading up to what we are at this point.
All names, obviously, as we mentioned, have been redacted, the players, but sources have confirmed that the man identified as MM is a senior employee at Nike Canada, which in October became the last premier marketing partner to suspend its relationship with Hockey Canada.
So that suspension just happened a couple of months ago.
Yes. Very, very recently. According to the application, the complainant told police that MM was buying rounds of drinks for some members of the team who were celebrating at Jack's Bar after being honored at a Hockey Canada Foundation gala and golf event.
And let's get this straight. So like Canada's drinking age is 18, right?
18,
I believe so.
I think it's 19.
Is it 19?
No. Let me make sure.
Well, because I want to make sure that because it's a World Juniors tournament.
It's 19.
Right? Okay, so maybe there's some underagers going around with fake IDs. Who knows? But that's unimportant. I just wanted to make that clear that you got to remember these are.
I would say most of these players are probably of age. Most of them,
like 19, 20, probably.
And they probably would have separated them. Like if you're underage, you're probably not going to that bar.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was
a
part of
So the woman identified as EM said she met a man identified as player 1 at the bar and spent most of the night dancing and drinking with him and his friends.
Okay.
She told police that a well-dressed, quote-unquote, older gentleman was also hanging around the group. She was about 20 years old at the time, and MM was 34.
Okay.
MM's occupation is redacted in the application, but he is described as someone whose job requires him to attend functions such as this. EM also told police that MM poured a shot of Jaeger bomb in her mouth, and she alleged that he was praising player 1 and told her to quote unquote take care of him.
So MM poured the bomb into her mouth.
Yes. He was giving her drinks.
So MM's the one that basically started her descent into this.
Yes, because what he did was he essentially led her to going up to the room with the player. And then after that was finished, the other players came up.
Right.
We don't know at this point if MM took any part in that second part of it, where more players came up,
where everybody came up. Yep.
We don't know if there's any involvement there, but we know that there is involvement with the first player. And that's kind of where we're at right now. That's really all I've got to kind of update everybody on where we're at. These are the very, very recent details that you might have missed.
And this is the 2018 case. And we would be remiss if we didn't take at least a few minutes. Let's talk about 2003.
Yeah. I mean, what do we know about 2003? Because I haven't done a ton of research on it.
I haven't either. And I think we should probably know the victim at this rate, because 2003's its own beast, because it was so much longer ago.
Yeah. One thing I'll remind people is for 2003 or for 2018. So in regards to 2018, there's already been a settlement where this woman made money off of the civil litigation.
She was compensated, yes.
There is no statute of limitations for age, time, whatever, to prosecute people who have committed sex crimes. So this goes for both EM as well as whoever the victim would have been back in 2003.
Well, that's also why Brad Aldridge took so long.
Yes.
Right? For those of you watching, I'm just like, yeah. His dad walked in for a sec.
Yeah. So we'll just.
Oh man. But
yeah,
we
just continue going.
The comparisons, they're there.
Yes.
Between the Chicago case and this.
Yes. And as well as 2003 and 2018.
Of course.
They're all very similar in the sense that,
the 2003 team has got to have some, like, I remember hearing rumors, and I'm sure these are false rumors, but at least like he was a part of the team, Marc-Andre Fleury being involved in it.
Well, so it I don't know if it's necessarily like a rumor that he was involved in it, but it's just people listed players who were on that team. And
right.
This is what we talk about with being a fan of hockey or being a fan of any sport and learning about cases like this, is your feelings are going to get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Because someone that you really like is going to be involved.
Someone that you really like is probably going to turn out to be a shitty person.
We're not going to speculate on players today, but understand that when players' names come out, there are going to be some hurt feelings, because these are talented hockey players who might be on your team.
Talented players that might be on your team that you really, and other players on other teams that you really enjoy watching.
Yeah, these might be players that you might rely on your team. Like, just for example, okay? Since we've brought it up earlier.
Yep.
That'd be a massive loss for Ottawa if they lost Batherson.
Yeah. And I mean,
a team that's trying to kind of rise.
They've already lost Foreman, and Foreman is a decent middle six presence for him.
If you lose both those guys, say if they're both in it, that hurts.
That's a huge blow.
Those are two assets for you. Obviously, that's not the important thing here, and we're addressing that. It's just
right.
This is the other side of it. Is your feelings are going to get hurt because someone that you like, these are players that you might have met before, whether it be at an event or outside of a place in public.
If you're lucky enough to see them out in public.
If you're lucky enough to see them out in public, they've taken pictures with you. Oh, they were nice to me in person. Like, there's going to be hurt feelings from this. Like, no doubt about it. I can't imagine what that would be like, because I've never really had any of my favorite players do that.
I've only met Bjorky, really.
Yeah.
Right? And he was he was great.
So, yeah, I just...
It's like, imagine if we were just hanging out, right? It's one thing if you're, like, just hanging out and you meet, like, Sean or Jack because they're local dudes, or, like, Johnny if he's around hanging out, right? You know what I mean? If we're lucky to meet him like that, at like Boston's,
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Mhm.
Once these player names come out and you start thinking like, oh,
Yeah.
I remember seeing him at a local bar and taking a couple of pictures and getting an autograph and saying hi and whatever.
That's gonna be some people's reactions to this, because there are gonna be people who've interacted with these players before, and it's not fun. Nothing
No.
like I remind people, just in case you forgot, there's nothing fun about this.
No.
Absolutely nothing is fun about this.
We've tried to make this
sucks.
episode like as much levity into this as we've brought you the facts as possible.
Yeah, we don't want this to be too dark and too depressing and too grotesque.
And that's why we started with Kepi's.
But it's so important.
Yes.
And I know we've said it multiple times. We just can't stress it enough. It's really important.
Yes.
And
because this is, and we've said it, it's the culture of the sport that's the issue here.
Yeah.
It's the culture of the organizations. This is an international level.
This is like the thing I want to,
because it's a governing body.
I want to correct something I said earlier, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Because earlier I said that Hockey Canada was the system. And I'm wrong. You've got this individual case.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey Canada is protected. It protects the case, obviously.
Right.
Or at least try to.
Yep.
Hockey Canada is not the only one, though. So Hockey Canada itself actually isn't the system. It's the culture. The culture is the system.
Well, like I said,
and it starts when you're young.
Who knows how many cases the USA hockey's hiding?
Yeah. Or
how many
have paid off. God, Jake, I'd have to imagine there's some equity.
There's at least a few of them, right? I would think.
There's gotta be.
There's got to be at least a handful. No,
there's gotta be.
And
this is not a Canada-specific issue.
No, who knows how many in the entire governing body of the IIHF there are? Like,
it's just a North American issue. Finland,
Sweden. Yeah, because
wasn't
the Logan Mailloux story, like, didn't that happen in Sweden?
That happened overseas.
Yes.
Canadian player, but happened overseas. It's not just a North American issue.
No.
It happens in Russia, it happens in Europe, anywhere in those areas. Like, this is a hockey culture issue. That's the system. And it's a really, really big system.
And the way to start the change in the system kind of starts with us. It starts with us as fans.
It starts with fans. It starts with parents.
Starts with you,
parents,
you out there in the audience, coaches.
You develop these players when they're young.
When they're like 4 or 5 years old. That's when they start.
Yeah.
You've 13 years, at least, to teach these kids how to be better players and people.
Players and men.
I know this was heavy. Let's end on some fun things.
Yeah, this was very heavy, and I want to address this so we get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
If you were able to stay and listen to this conversation, thank you.
Thank you. Share it around because this discussion needs heard.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing if you do. Thank you for understanding the perspectives and caring about this issue, because the change starts with us. And even just listening to a couple podcasts and sharing around, it helps more than you think.
Oh yeah.
It's that important. As much as we love talking about hockey and our team, even when they suck ass.
Yep.
It's hard to enjoy the sport when this is going on,
I come back to a Robert quote. Being a hockey fan is a daily decision.
It's a daily decision. It is. And You want to talk about ways to grow the game? This is a way to grow the game. Make it safer.
Yeah.
Make the people in it better people. Make sure that we're holding each other accountable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all. I think that was a really good discussion. It was a very important discussion. And once again, I appreciate you letting me be able to kind of detail everything because
well, you being the journalism guy could facilitate a discussion like this a lot better than I could.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you.
Now it's time for you
to
facilitate a discussion
on some fun things. So first of all, we do have time since we're shooting this earlier. I want to give big props to the best goal scorer we've ever seen in our lives. Alex Ovechkin is now number 2.
Yeah. Sole possession of number 2.
That was awesome.
I don't know about you.
That was so good to see Mark and his message.
Yeah, watching 802 was funny because
it was an empty netter, and he was like,
because he passed up the empty netter.
Yeah, I know.
I got the sense that he was like, I don't want the 802 to be a freaking empty netter.
I know. And Kusi was like, are you kidding me?
Like, no, I'm giving it to you now.
He's like, no, you know what this is. You know what this is.
He was like, so Ovi took it on the boards, and he was like, I have to at least make 802 look cool. I don't even know how he shot it in that because he looked like he was like turned one way on the boards, and then I just saw the puck go in the net, and I was like, he got a shot off from there.
So I hate making this just a touch heavy.
Yeah.
Because this is a celebratory moment. I mean, he's second all time in goals. He's got 92 to go to tie Wayne.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, right.
It's brilliant. But I would be remiss to say that, like, you know, with his outspokenness with Putin,
yeah,
it's a little difficult to talk about this.
Yeah,
like
it was brought up. I think it was an article by Luke Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's a decision to.
You're a little
compartmentalize.
Hang on. You're breaking up a bit.
Getting angry.
You're just breaking up. I think you're back now.
I am back.
Okay.
I think.
You think? Okay, so Luke Fox
wrote an article talking about how, OV gives us that internal conflict on what we are willing to
tolerate,
turn a blind eye to. I think.
Turn a blind eye, yes.
Yeah. And the thing that I find difficult is I'm not familiar. Like, I don't know what it's like to be Alex Ovechkin. I don't know what it's like to have family in Russia, especially in a time like this. So
yes,
I don't know. I don't want to judge too harshly on a good guy.
People have brought up his Instagram photo of him posing with Putin.
I'm sure it's hard as the most prominent Russian player in the NHL. There's probably a lot of pressure on him, especially after what Panarin did.
Yeah, and Panarin is extremely outspoken against him.
Yeah, and he's basically just not welcome in Russia. So
yeah.
I put a sign on the door, and this is twice. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Anyway, so I don't know what it's like to be Ovi. I don't know, probably a ton of pressure. But the difficult thing is, it's not like a very recent support of Putin, maybe perhaps to keep his family protected. Like, this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, he's been like this for years and years.
Yes.
So I don't know. I just wanted to make sure we addressed both sides of the Ovi coin as well, because once he does break Gretzky's record, it's going to be freaking brilliant.
The difficult thing, though, is it's not just a discussion about like when you bring politics into sports, it's difficult because there are a lot of people with different viewpoints.
Yes.
And someone brought up something that Wayne Gretzky said. I want to say about one of the administrations about a war back in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
in support of the U.S., and a lot of people were not happy with that quote.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, they're political opinions from people who, at the end of the day, if you disagree with, you disagree with.
Yeah.
I think back to a funny Dave Chappelle quote where he was talking. Do you remember what he said about oh god,
Oh
God, who is it
okay,
about?
I thought I lost you for a second.
He's talking about the Spice Girls.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, why do you care about their opinions?
Right.
Stuff like that. God. I can't remember who it was.
But no, I get what you're saying.
Oh, Ja Rule. Do you remember the Ja Rule thing?
Oh, the Ja Rule thing.
That's what it was.
Remind people, because this one was actually a really funny bit.
So, like, it was about, like, when 9/11 first happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was MTV had Ja Rule on to talk about it, and he was like, who cares what Ja Rule thinks right now? He's like, I don't care what he thinks right now. I want someone who knows what to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, I think his exact quote is like, I don't want to dance, I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
I want some answers that Ja Rule might not have right now. That's literally what I think about. Like, I don't know, like, do we really want to care about every single political opinion of every single NHL player? Like, there are people in the NHL who don't like Tony DeAngelo for that reason.
Yeah.
There are people who really like Tony DeAngelo for that reason.
Yeah.
It just is what it is, you know?
I feel like it's just a little bit different with Ovi because of his presence in the league as a whole.
Yes, because
right?
He's one of the top. He's one, like, if you're talking about like current faces of the league, like if you're doing a Mount Rushmore of current players, he's easily on that.
It's Connor, it's Sid, Ovi,
yeah,
and whoever you want to throw in there at number 4.
Yeah,
I guess if you want to,
number 4 is, but
do you want to if you want to throw a goalie up there, Vasi maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
4th spot's on it, but like you come to those 3 guys.
Yeah,
in particular,
Sid, Ovi, and Connor. Those are the guys. 2 guys who've done it for a long time and have been elite the whole time, and then you're number 1 player in the league.
Yeah. So it's just, but that's the thing. We want to give him his cookies because he absolutely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on pace for another 50-goal year this year already. It's fluctuating a little bit, but like he can get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he only needs 92 left to tie it.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
He signed this contract. He signed this contract with the intention of breaking this record.
Yes. And we've mentioned it in previously. I want to address it again. The Capitals have basically announced that they're going to continue to try and build this team around Ovi, and they're not going to rebuild, even though conventional wisdom would usually tell you that they probably should right now. And
yeah.
They understand they're probably not going to win a cup, but they're doing right by the player. This is a legendary player. This is the greatest goal scorer this league has ever seen. Mm-hmm. And we are going to make sure that his last few years in the league, he is surrounded with the best talent that we can provide him. And he's given the best opportunity to score as many goals as possible. So not only does he break Wayne's record, he wants to shatter it.
Yeah, he wants to stand vastly alone at the top.
Yes, and not just in the sense that like, oh, I got to shatter Wayne's record, but I want to be number 1 forever. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I mean that whole thing, is funny in one way because it's a little bit of like, the arrogance that we talk about with players, but it's a respect thing too. Because Wayne's already come out with so much respect for Ovi, and Ovi has so much respect for Wayne.
Yeah, there's nothing but respect for those guys at the top.
And that's the funny thing, right?
I remember, like, we talk about like the respect that Wayne's always shown for other players. Remember when Gordy died, he came out and he was like, Gordy was the greatest hockey player to ever live.
Yeah.
And it's like, Wayne, you hold like every single record. It's you. But like that's just so Wayne to
Yeah.
come out and be like, it was Gordy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ovi deserves all the kudos in the world for getting to 802. Only the third player to ever score 800 goals.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we weren't around for the other two to do it.
Yeah. So this is the first time we've ever seen this happen.
And probably the only time we'll ever see it happen.
Yeah.
The only player that I can think of that can get close, and I don't know, probably Austin Matthews.
I think there too. Austin.
Connor.
Bedard.
Ooh.
Because
Bedard's shot, he has a hell of a shot.
It's a shot. Like, so yeah, like who knows? We'll have to see how he translates to the NHL as a goal scorer, which I think he's going to translate to the NHL great. I just want to see like is he
how the shot develops and how that
or is he a 50-60 goal guy?
Right, exactly. But yeah, so much props to Ovi for getting to number 2, and he's got one more to go. What'd you get for Christmas that was related to these guys?
So
you didn't get a lot of jacket stuff.
No, I got a one singular winter hat for the Blue Jackets. It's the alternate with the cannon. It was nice.
Oh, nice. That's gonna look great.
Yeah, I got this for the Devils. My girlfriend got me a Justin Fields Bears jersey.
Nice.
Trying to think what else. Oh, I got new AirPods. I desperately needed new AirPods.
Oh, I'm sure.
What else did I get? Oh, I got something for my back. I got a massage thing for my back.
Oh, fun. Needed something like that, right?
Kills me constantly.
I'm with you there.
What else? Just like clothes. I got like I got a new Bear sweatshirt. It's an orange sweatshirt, which I liked.
Ooh.
Going a little reverse on that.
Nice.
Got some Cavs shirts and whatnot,
Yeah,
I got Christmas, baby.
I got this little black ice beanie, which I freaking love.
That's nice.
Yeah, you can kind of see it right there with the lighting, right?
Yeah, because
and then it's got the
reflection of it.
Yeah, it's got the NHL shield on the back of it too.
Nice,
which is fun. I got this from my cousin as well. This little Columbus hockey.
What's the big one you got?
The big one I got. I'll probably end with that one. I got this little, the little mask set you can buy that's got the 30 masks in it.
Yeah.
I got that as well. I got a little like double-sided can koozie it's like red with the primary logo on one side, and then you flip it over and it's blue with the I think it's got the Canon logo on the other side, if it's not like a word mark.
Yeah, they used to sell those at Lids.
Yeah, so did you?
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, I got that. I got like all Columbused out. I got a little like frame over here in my kitchen area that's got all the logos on it. I got it like my whole kitchen is like revamped because I got a Keurig, like an actual Keurig with the reservoir. I got an iced coffee machine here in like a week. I'm getting an air fryer for my grandparents.
Oh
yeah.
The big one that I got that I saved for last that I desperately needed. I got a new 7-iron.
Nice.
I needed a new 7-iron. I got a Callaway 7-iron Apex. It's really nice. So
you know exactly what my big one is.
Yep.
Because
we'll be matching.
We'll be matching here in about a week, people. My Johnny jersey has arrived.
Still the best thing that's happened this season.
Is Johnny coming here? Yeah. It's like
what this team would look like without him.
I want to know when.
Are we a 6-win team without Johnny?
When's that rust gonna wear off? Of like, you know what I mean?
Oh, the saltiness from other people.
Well, that and just like the sheen of like, oh my god, he's really here.
Probably never. He'll be in year 7 and I'll be like, I can't believe this guy's a jacket.
I know. So, okay. Housekeeping. You're going to Jersey this week, right? So yeah, you're gonna be hanging out with these guys. So we aren't doing a Saturday show. We will see y'all in a week for actually more fun stuff. And hey, I plugged it at the top. I'm gonna plug it at the end. Thursday night against the Islanders, 7:30. The Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're not at the game, if you're watching on TV, come to the YouTube channel. Come hang out with your boy.
Word.
And we'll see you on Tuesday.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.